Houston Behavioral Health also discusses the effects of depression and other mental health struggles on the body itself, describing that patients with severe coronary artery obstructions often are presented with some form of depression. They also show that patients with chronic physical illness are 3 times as likely to have depression. So while it is also very common and very popular for people to think, well, that person has an ailment, obviously they're going to have depression because of that ailment, there has also been studies showing that depression can precede a physical illness. It is not directly tied to the illness, to the ailment. It is not simply because of the ailment. It can be from before. Very commonly, it doesn't have much to do with the ailment itself. Houston Behavioral also discusses how our emotions are very tied into how our bodies work and how our bodies react to our emotions, and how mental health can be direct relation to this. It states when our emotions like anger and sadness are not dealt with, the body is adversely affected. For example, when patients have excessive anger, stress hormones are released, including cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones increase a person's blood pressure, and over time, uncontrolled anger can result in chronic high blood pressure, heart disease, anxiety, insomnia, headaches, and many digestive issues. There are many, many physical symptoms of mental health that we can see in students. However, these main 4 are the most popular, in my opinion, as well as professors and other faculty can probably easily see these in students compared to other things that aren't directly visible or can be seen in a classroom. To begin, we have lack of focus. This is where students have a difficult time remembering, maintaining focus, or making decisions. We can see this in a classroom by people not really being able to pay attention to lectures. Tests and other like pop quizzes are becoming more difficult. People who were once doing well are no longer doing well on these kinds of things. Secondly, we have withdrawal from others, which is where students begin shutting themselves out. They also struggle to find things that bring them joy. We can also see this in a classroom on campus where students who once participated no longer participate, or students who sat in the front row now don't sit in the front row, they sit closer towards the back, or students just stop showing up to class in general. This also relates to the third topic, trouble sleeping or too much sleep. Students may have trouble falling asleep and staying asleep, or on the contrary, students are sleeping too much. We can see this in the classroom by either students skipping class because they are sleeping in their dorm, or students falling asleep during class because they weren't able to get sleep from the night before. While this is also common because students like to go out and have a good time and still try and make it to an 8 a.m. class or even a 9 a.m. class, we can kind of use all 4 of these things to kind of see that it's not just the college style life, but we can see that it's actually a mental health issue going on. And the last symptom that I believe is most prominent in college students are overeating or not eating enough. With overeating, students tend to find comfort in food and eat much more than they normally do. While it is very common for students to gain weight during the first year of college, it is also very common for those struggling with mental health issues to overeat. This could lead to a significant weight gain, which can also cause a huge bout of mental health issues to go along with their previous mental health issues. On the contrary, there are also people who do not eat enough. These students tend to see food as their only source of control, whether they feel that their life is not going the way that they planned, or they can't control certain things that are happening to them. They tend to focus on controlling their food, which can lead to a very, very unhealthy, restrictive diet. So as I said before, there are many, many other physical symptoms of mental health issues going on in students. I just felt that these 4 are the easiest to see inside of a classroom, for where professors and faculty can easily pinpoint certain students who have stopped focusing, have withdrawn from the class, are falling asleep in class or skipping class in general, or we can physically see that their health is not doing well based off of mental issues. So now we have our current solutions that are going around right now, probably within the last decade or so. These are the 3 main ones that have been created and or are used to help those struggling with mental health issues. However, they also provide some problems as well. Starting with medication, there are three main types of medication used for people who are struggling with mental health. The first being sertraline or Zoloft, paroxetine or Paxil, citalopram or Celexa. Sertraline or Zoloft is the most common, and a study showed that 17% of people struggling with mental health issues are prescribed Zoloft as their very first form of medication. And while medication works really great for some people because it directly targets the chemical imbalance in your brain, it also provides another load of issues. Medication can alter weight, mood swings, it can simply not work, or it can make problems worse. Our brains are very, very complex things, and oftentimes it's very specific to the medication is very specific to the person. So what might work for one person will not necessarily work for the same person, even though they might have the same issues going on. The second resource are holistic practices. So these include things like yoga and exercising, and one of the most common is actually a root plant called kava. This root plant is found mainly in Hawaii and other southern Pacific countries, but it has been linked to stress relief and other things in that nature. A 2009 study was conducted, and it actually showed that the kava plant really helped reduce stress in people with mental health issues. However, those conducting the research also stated that a lot more research needed to be done. They felt that their method wasn't entirely accurate, given they used the kava root in a placebo to try and determine how well it worked. They also stated that using something like the kava plant does not directly target the chemical imbalance in the brain. It simply only works for a little bit of time, or it gives you a little bit of serotonin for the amount of time that you use it, but it is not something that is a prolonging resource. Lastly, we have therapy. Now, there are four main types of therapy. We have cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, interpersonal therapy, family therapy, and psychoeducational therapy. Now, each one of these can be really tailored to a person, which is why therapy is really great and has been really pushed for a lot of people who have been struggling with mental health issues. You're able to create a plan that is perfectly tailored to you. You work with someone who is non-biased in any situation, and a lot of times there have been studies that show people struggling with mental health issues, therapy works wonders for them. However, therapy does not work for everyone, as most medication and holistic practices don't work for everyone. Therapy sometimes just does not work. And a lot of the two examples that I have that show that therapy is not the best are directly related to universities and institutions. The first university is a private university in North Carolina, and this university specifically had students stating a few things. The first being that it was all the way across campus. It was across the train tracks, as they said, and that means that it was too far away. And a lot of times those struggling with mental health issues, physical activity and being physically taxated when you go to a therapy session or things like that don't really help in the first place, and it actually deters students from going in the first place. The same institution had students stating that they would make an appointment, and when they showed up for their appointment, it would be magically canceled with no warning, no offer to reschedule or anything of that sort. Their therapist or their counselor would just simply not be there. This specific university had 3 students commit suicide over the 2018-2019 school year. Now, whether there is a direct connection between their counseling center and these suicides is unknown. However, it does show that the help that the university provided was not used or was not up to standard. The second university, students had stated when they contacted the counseling center, they were informed that they needed to book 3 months in advance, that their appointment would not be until 3 months from the time that they called, if that person was specifically available to help them. And I had one student specifically tell me that when she was finally able to make it to her appointment, not only had many, many worse things happen that impacted her mental health before then, she was also called by the wrong name numerous times by her therapist/counselor during their session. For me, this is a direct correlation between the decline of mental health in students and the university's not doing enough, or they aren't providing enough counselors. They're not providing other resources other than what they have already on campus, and clearly they are not doing well enough. Mental health is something that is very specific to a student and is very specific to a person, and I understand that many universities cannot help every single student because not every single student comes forward or asks for help. However, when a student is trying to receive the help from that university and the university is not able to provide something that is substantial for that student, it becomes more of a problem, and that deters people from going back to using the resources that the campus has. So now we can actually take a look at how universities can combat the decline of mental health. As I stated, mental health in students is very, very specific, and it's going to be very difficult for universities to try and help every single person. However, there are things that universities can do besides hiring more counselors or getting better counselors to help their students. For starters, many colleges are beginning to proactively share mental health information with students during face-to-face orientation sessions. To go along with their alcohol, drug, and party discussions, they are now including mental health issues. Just recently, the University of Berkeley created a panel, role play, and other videos that discuss the problems with mental health in college level students. They believe that incorporating this can make students feel that they are not alone, that it shows them different resources that they can have and that they are provided, and it allows the uncomfortableness of talking about it, talking about mental health issues kind of float away and are left behind in high school. The second thing they can do is encourage students to monitor their mental health the same way that they monitor their physical health. Just as you want students taking care of their physical body, you want them to be taking care of their mental body as well. Drexel University actually created something in the rec center for students to be able to go and take a quick little quiz that's completely anonymous, and they're able to receive back different resources based off of the different answers they gave to specific questions during the questionnaire. Because of this, students are able to get direct help, and they're also able to kind of check up on themselves and make sure that they're doing okay while also being in a place that helps them physically. They can also provide students substantial resources, especially easy access to care 24/7 throughout the year. Now, as we had mentioned, one of the universities in North Carolina, it took 3 months. Students would have to book 3 months in advance in order to get some help. However, TimelyMD has partnered with over 130 universities across the country to help provide telehealth, 24/7 access to different people, different resources, and things in that nature. So that way, when the counseling center is closed or the student health center is closed, they're able to still receive proper care. And lastly, I think universities and other institutions really need to take responsibility for anything that they can be doing to increase the decline of students' mental health. Whether it's not doing enough with counseling, whether they can just continue to fund different constructions on campus and things of that nature, and not providing the right care and the right resources for their students, or if it's simply just acknowledging things that are going on campus. I understand that there are many things that are out of a university's control. However, thinking about what they can do and taking responsibility for not doing enough is very important, and it gives the acknowledgement that many students who are struggling deserve.